South Africa's building and construction sector is on its knees, compounded by a stagnant economy and low infrastructure spending by government. This has resulted in major job losses, further swelling the ranks of the unemployed. And of course, based on the 2018-2019 annual report of the Commission for Conciliation, Mediation and Arbitration, CCMA, the outlook is bleak for the building and construction industry as it continues to register major job losses and retrenchments. According to the report, the construction sector recorded 3,584 employees facing retrenchment, the highest among all sectors, adding more strain on South Africa's 29.1% unemployment rate. But what does this mean for small construction companies? Let's ask Sheila Maumela, who is from Team Potter Enterprise. Thank you very much for coming to our program.
Hi, Colin. Thank you very much for inviting me.
All right. So how would you say that the prevailing environment in the construction sector is affecting you as a small enterprise operator?
Colin, we are basically faced with issues of being limited in terms of grading to start with, in terms of with the CIBD. Let's start there. And then secondly, we are limited in terms of voices, because then opportunities come only when we've joined ventures with bigger companies. So we are only able to penetrate through the industry via tendering with the help of bigger companies. Of course, it's a reciprocal relationship whereby both of us are gaining. Bigger companies, it's an intervention that the government has brought, but it's limiting us in the sense that we don't have participation voice. We hardly say much. It's more like a front for the bigger companies to gain the tender opportunities, and then the next thing swallow us as the small fishes in the industry.
So I mean, like when a big company like Group 5 was liquidated, and some people were saying that it was going to look like the end for the smaller players in the industry. When the retrenchments were announced, how were you affected as an owner and obviously your employees?
It meant that we have to cut down on a whole lot of cut down on the capacity, not only that, but human resources as well, because then funding also becomes an issue if we keep people within the industry without having the funds to maintain the business. So it really was tough for us, and it still is, because then it means that we have to then find other sources of income in order for us to maintain project that we get.
Which is what I was going to ask you about when it comes to other sources of income, referring to alternative contract sourcing, as in like the individual house renovations and building sites. How are you coping in that section of the sector?
How do I put it? We, for instance, at Team Potter, we try and not do local home renovations because of the challenges that we face with individuals, for instance, in terms of payment. But we do the major commercial renovations and buildings, because then at least we know that when we invoice, it's not an individual case, but it's an issue of one company invoicing the other. This industry basically is, it's an industry where you need to know exactly what you want to focus on as the core, and once you focused on that, especially with the renovations, because they come as small monies that come in, really, unlike when it's major things like your civil works and big renovations in malls and etc.
So how do we differentiate you from people who call themselves tenderpreneurs? Because you'll find that when there's local economic development or there's a construction sector boom in a municipality, to build RDP houses, for example, why are you not able to get a direct contract instead of subcontracting or being a supplier or doing renovations only? Why can't you get your own large chunk of construction deals, so that as part of black economic empowerment and women empowerment, you are also participating in the mainstream economy? Again,
like I said in the beginning, that now in the construction industry is that when you tender for a project, you should then have funds to guarantee that project. Remember, initially we had issues where people would be given projects and then they don't complete them, then they charge their monies with their own personal things. So in the end, there should be some kind of investment that comes from a small company that wants to get projects. So that's the challenge number one. So you can get a project that says you are getting 6M in at the end of the project. That's a profit margin, but you need to contribute like 300,000 rand towards as a guarantee towards the tender that you are getting, for instance. That investment you are going to get back at the end, but it's something that guarantees the client that you are well capable of starting the project without them injecting funds. In the end, you're going to invoice and actually get funding coming in. But how do you, as a small company, I mean, you are starting, we are like 4 years already. How do you then get 300,000 rand lying somewhere? It's not easy. Even with the banks, they don't easily give you money to actually guarantee your projects, especially if you've had other requests for funds in terms of the projects that you're getting.
But you've been in business for more than 5 years.
It's
but
4
the
years,
information, for 4 years, but it's almost 5 years.
Yeah,
and the information that we have been given is that you only have to be operational for 12 months when you have an income statement and spending.
Hence I say, Colin, I feel like some of the information that they share with you guys, it's more frontal than being real, because the struggle is real. When you go and ask for funds, it depends on how many projects, for instance, you would have done. Even if you are capable in terms of human resource and you do have the equipment and the skill as well, it's your grading becomes a challenge when you are a CE2, for instance.
Yeah. It's shocking that you're not able to get just an advance of 300,000 rand for a 6 million rand project, but you have been operating for more than 4 years.
So what happens is, if you've, for instance, now we've got about 4 projects with a big company like Rainwater. 4 projects that are coming in through a consortium approach. Now, if you've asked for 350,000 rand to secure one project, then you get another project. I mean, we've got 4, meaning different pipeline projects that are existing. So if you've asked for 300,000 rand for one project, you cannot then go back and ask, depending on the financials, you cannot go then and ask for more, unless there's a companies like your CIFA that would then support you in terms of giving you the equipment that you paid over time.
Oh. Well, we'll have to find out about these funding procedures.
Yeah,
and,
please.
Your bank statement, income statements, your balance sheet and everything, because we thought that you are sorted as a company.
Not, it's, what can I say? You do qualify in terms of what the financials would say, but in terms of what is needed, for instance, you can guarantee a project with equipment that you own.
Yeah, well, it's shocking to know what you guys
are.
Yeah, it's shocking to know what you guys are going through.
Yeah.
Whereas we've been thinking that everything is just honky dory. But we will follow up on this. And thank you very much for making time to speak to us and telling us about your experiences.
Okay, thank you so much for inviting me.
Sheila Maumela is from Timpata Enterprise, and we'll follow up about these funding procedures for the enterprises that are operational but struggling to get funding. Let's take a break.